Hey guys, welcome back to another video about Krita. So Krita 4.2 got released on the 29th of May, which was really awesome and really fast. I think they released the alpha at the beginning of May and then went through the beta pretty quick, and then now they have the final version for 4.2. Unfortunately I didn't get to try out the beta or anything. I thought it would be in its beta or alpha phase a lot longer. I think because I'm used to that. Like with Blender, how it has a very long phase of beta testing or alpha testing, or just in general for any program, but I'm not going to complain, you know, it's totally fine. So I figured I would do the install in this video, and then you can just watch me from start to finish, get this get this installed and going and all that fun stuff. So I'm just on their website, krita.org, and I'm just wait to download, so I'm waiting for that to finish. And yeah, so once that's finished, I'll kick back the video, or cut to that, yes. Alright, so as you can see, after we've installed it, this here is the new Krita page, or like appearance when you open it up. So you have everything over here, recent, and blah 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 blah. You also have the news, which I think is important because if you forget, not forget, but if you just don't check the Krita website that often, sometimes you might miss important announcements or updates, like me. Like I saw this, I'm like, oh, I'll download that, I'll check it out, I got time. And then the beta released, and I was like, oh, I'll do it later, I got time. And then I completely forgot about it, and then it just came out. Cool story. Alright, so the first few things that I personally am excited about, one is HDR painting. Now this only works if you have an HDR monitor. I want to make sure. Yeah, it's only available on Windows 10 right now. It is not available for Mac or Linux, and I believe this is specifically because they worked with Intel, and it's a hardware issue, I guess. Yeah, it's unsupported hardware, so for whatever reason, if a Linux or a Mac isn't set up with the right hardware, or well, Linux technically can be on any computer, so it must be in part a software issue as well. But hopefully in the future that they can get those other systems added to it, because everyone should be able to use HDR painting, and Krita is the only painting program that has HDR painting. Again, they are the only, yes, even Adobe didn't have it first. They are the only software that has HDR painting. So I am really excited about that. I'm pretty sure it only works with HDR monitors. I'll have to double check that. And it should be enabled. Let's see. The display is only available on Windows 10, so I'll have to look into how to enable that. It might be a monitor thing. I do not have HDR monitors, or super fancy ones to begin with, and that's okay. So let me just take a look here. Here we go, display. Oh, okay, maybe I do. Alright, so I can change here under HDR, under the display, the sRGB, which is 8-bit, which I believe is, yeah, current output format. Current display doesn't, yeah. So I don't have an HDR monitor, so this isn't going to support anything for me. But if you do have it, go to Krita display and you can change it here. And it just means your color is going to pop more, you're going to have more depth to work with. As someone else pointed out, your black is going to be black, your white is going to be white, it's just going to look really nice. This has nothing to do with color settings, however, so if your color calibration is off, you still have to fix that. Alright, so while we're here, Krita also allowed us to make some changes to our autosave files. We can save whatever interval we want. Mine's at 15. We can also change where that backup's going to be. So we can do the same folder as the original file. So I have a folder structure for everything I work on. So wherever that main file is saved is where that autosave backup file is going to be as well. You can put it in a temporary file location. which is in your temp folder, and I hate going there, so I'm not doing that. Or it can be in a user folder. So I think it's like Windows or C drive users or something like that, I think. I'm going to keep it in the same folder as the original file, because I hate digging through stuff. I hate digging through my own files. I hate digging through Windows files. It's just a nuisance. And for organizational purposes, for just ease of access, it makes more sense for me to keep it in the same folder as the original file. And the backup file suffix is that little squiggly line. I don't remember what it's called. I'm gonna leave that as well, because that way I know that's an autosave file. And I think that's the default for most autosave or backup files as well. And I don't want to confuse myself by changing the symbol. Now, if you don't really care and you want it to be a unique symbol, feel free to do that. Just make sure it's not going to conflict with any file naming conventions that you already have in place. So if you're going to put underscores, that you use underscores your names, that can get confusing really fast, and you might wind up opening an autosave file that actually might be a little bit older than the final version that you saved, or the last version that you saved. So exercise that with caution if you are going to change this to a symbol that is being used in your naming conventions. And the number of backup files kept, I'm gonna leave mine to 4. I think that's a safe number for me. I don't say, because I save iterations as well, so file 1 or version 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So if it's saving a backup file of each of those versions for me, which I think it does. And I'm thinking about it. Let me take a look. I'm pretty sure it does. Wrong folder. Yeah, it does. Okay. So as you can see here, I have my version 1. I have version 2. Should have put the V in there, but I didn't. But you can see each one has a different, it has a backup for different file names. So I'm going to leave number 4. That's perfectly fine. So if I have 4 versions, I have 4 backups, or theoretically of each one. That's 16 different files I got, or backup files I have access to. It's perfect. That's fine. We'll leave it just like that. Alright, so they also had some brush performance speed in their sample images with the line tool. And I never use this exclusively or frequently enough that I noticed it was lagging. So I'm not sure if larger brush sizes had more lag than smaller brush sizes, because I would usually use it, let's say, I think it's around that size. I mean, it responds really nice, so maybe they did not maybe, but they did update it, so maybe I'm just not noticing the speed difference because I never had an issue with lag to begin with. And then they had the improved color palette Docker, and I remember in my video talking about the palette Docker that they would most likely be improving it, because it did have some issues both with the adding new colors, adding specific colors, and how it worked in general. Before, the workaround to adding a specific color to your color palette was to use a RGB or use a hex code value by opening up your color selector and getting that and copying and pasting that color hex code into the color palette, and then it was a workaround. It did work, but it wasn't very user-friendly, and it's not exactly the speediest method to do it either. So, I opened the wrong thing. Alright, settings, Dockers, palette, get out of there. Alright, this is beautiful, right? Just a normal palette. Cool. So, these are all the colors that are in this palette. That's fine. We're gonna open the default one. Oh, I see. I'm already on default. What? Am I? There we go. Yeah, it was on default. No, let's just do the gradient. Just because it looks a little bit nicer on the eyes. Alright, so all my colors are here. They're nicely organized, look really pretty, all that fun stuff. So, we can add a new color, and then what we had to do before was we had to add the color here by copying and pasting the value here, or by picking it here. This is still a little bit slow, and that's okay because really you don't want to add a color through here with the way they've updated it. Anyway, we're gonna cancel that. Let's make a, open up your gradients, we're gonna make a new one. I'll say palette, we can call it 2 because I have another one I want to show you. Alright, so all these colors I've been playing with before I started recording. Actually, I recorded it and then I'm redoing it. Regardless, we're gonna add these colors in. So, I'm gonna pick the blue. And the first difference that you're gonna see if you watched another video or if you've used the color palette before, all these checkerboard boxes, they're all empty. As you can see, my mouse is hovering over it, it says empty slot. I click on it, color is added. That's it, you're done. Want another color? Let's put that pink in there. Hey, it's done. Want to add this one here? Want to add it down here? Cool. You can put these colors wherever you want, and you can add them multiple times if you want. If you want to delete it, click on the box with the colors and hit that button. It's gone. Goodbye. Didn't want any of you. I didn't want any of these colors. So that's cool, right? But it's not quite done there. You want to know why? Because I can get in the person's name, Michael Zhao, who improved all of this into beautifulness thanks to the Google Summer of Code for 2018. Thank you! Get this even further. Okay, now we can save this palette into the document itself. So if you have a color palette specific to that file you're working on, it will be saved in that file automatically for you. I already did one. So Krita palette test. I mean, like, masterpiece, right? It's just gorgeous work. So I'm gonna go to settings, Dockers, palette. I'm gonna go down here, Missy's palette. Those colors are right there. Didn't have to do anything but open up that file. And that is pretty awesome. And you wanna know what else you can do? You can export this file. So, I'm gonna make a new file. Actually, I'll just use this one I have here. We're gonna oh, here it is. Here. So this file, I don't think, I'm actually gonna delete that one because it's empty. So let's say we just open up a brand new file and I don't see that Missy's palette in here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go here to import a new palette from the file. And I made a folder already called Krita Palettes. And this is actually a good thing to do. So if you have multiple images or something, maybe a character, and you have a specific color palette you want for them, save those colors and name it, export it out, so you always have it readily available to you to import back into Krita, or into another Krita file. So here's my Missy's palette. I'm gonna open it, boom, there it is. Brand new file, not even saved, and I can import that. And then to export it is right next to the import. So you can export this without any hassle. Just pick your folder, name it, you're done. That's it. It's beautiful. I love it. And then if you want to delete it from that file, you just delete it. And it's not going to delete it from your folder unless you personally go into that folder and delete that actual Krita palette file. And maybe you might do that. Maybe your palette needs updating, but I would recommend saving that as a backup somewhere, you know, zip it up. Yeah. So enough about the color palette before I continue. Thanks, guys! So, yeah. Alright, anyway, let's move on. So they did make changes to the animation stuff. They have 2 plugins for it now that you can download. One is a Sprite Sheet Manager, and one is an Animator Video Reference and Importer. I was gonna go over this originally, but I don't use the animation tools in Krita, so when I first started recording this and I started looking at it, I don't know enough of what it used to look like to what it is now to really differentiate what changed, because I have used it maybe less than 5 times since I've started using Krita. But if you are an animator, I highly suggest you go check it out. There were a lot more improvements that I personally thought were done from what it used to be. I don't know if that's just bugs being fixed or updates from previous versions, but it was much easier for me to set keyframes and scrub through them and actually see that the keyframes were being made in the timeline. So I highly recommend go, if you're an animator and you want to do animation, or if you're just learning animation, go play with it, go explore, go check that stuff out. We already went through the file backups, and they also did some masking updates to the color gamut and the artistic color selector, which I will also go over. And both of those features were done by Anna Medanosova. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. And I think she has done updates to specific color stuff before. I could be wrong. I could be remembering this completely wrong, but I think she has done stuff for color specific features before. So I'm gonna look at the color selector, or advanced artistic color selector. I'm so sorry. I'm going to drag you out. It's so small. I think the only thing I would want to change in Krita is the fact that the Dockers default somewhere on here and they don't pop out. I would like them to never ever go here or here. Just bring them out. But they're Dockers, so I guess it makes sense that they don't. Alright, anyway. So what she did was she added a ton of new features and settings and all that fun stuff to the artistic color selector. And before, I mean, you could change the rows and the columns and all this crazy stuff to your colors. Great. You know, like this. Perfect, I guess. And you can invert the saturation, all that. So now there's this beautiful mode. Look at that. I literally have every gray available to me. So instead of only being stuck with however many I put in here, I think I can do 60. Yeah, I can do 60. Oh, no, I can't. I can only do 30. I'm sorry. You can go up to 30 selectors here. That's just, it does not give me enough range. I mean, I guess it's good if you're starting off with color theory or something, but let's be real here. We all love this, right? We love to have infinity options. And same with this. So I can go around here and get beautiful color range. Beautiful. And then that's not it. Look at this. I'm pretty sure this was not here before. So I got my numbered value scale. How beautiful is that? I think it's gorgeous. This was here before. You change the color space. You can change these numbers specifically. Your gamma and your lumen. I think luma is the luminescence. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. But if you need specific color ranges or settings for that, you can change that here. So I'm just gonna put that to 1.5, put that to 0, 0. So it's changing something. I don't know. I'm just gonna worry about that. Okay. So you can enforce the gamut mask if you need to, or you can just show the shapes. The same settings that we had before can be also be changed here. And then you can show the background color indicator, which is this color right here. So if you're trying to color match or pick out a new color that's gonna coexist with the existing one really well, like let's say if you want to make a painting in all pink, but you want to use different shades of pink, but you don't want them to be so close together that you can't tell the difference. You want, you know, like your midtone, your highlights, and your shadows picked very nicely so that it's clean. You can compare those colors here, which is really nice. So we'll set that to default, and then mask is disabled. I think that's this thing here. I actually don't remember. I thought I changed that before, but I could be wrong. That's those updates made to the artistic color selector, and I think that's a huge deal. I mean, if you don't think it is, that's fine, but I think it's a huge deal. I like it. Thank you, guys. And then there's now some changes to the move tool. So this is with the vector shapes. Make a vector layer. I'll just make this. Sorry, this is the move tool. So this is your selector. You can still move it, but this is specifically the move tool. So right now, like let's say you had this over here and then you had to move it here and you're like, oh, I don't want that. You can undo as many times as you want until it's gone. So that's cool. And if you want to see the edit undo here, because in the preview it does say, oh, we can edit undo move, but it's not going to do that while your move tool is selected. And I don't know if that's a bug. I don't know if it's done intentionally or not, but that's how it is. But once you go to a different tool, then it's going to say undo move. But don't worry about that, because as long as you can still hit Control Z to undo it, it's not going to ruin the ability to undo the move on that vector shape or layer with the move tool. You don't have to do it just a vector layer, by the way. I was just gonna do this because it's easier. Another thing is you have your memory options here, or memory display settings here in the bottom of your screen, your window. This is actually pretty nice because right now I have 24 gigs of memory and I'm using 96.2 megabytes. If you have a really big file, it's really important to know how much memory you're using, especially if it's getting a little laggy. This way you can monitor your usage, you can monitor, maybe it's not a big file, but for some reason it's using a lot of memory. This could be useful for asking for help from the devs or developers. It's a good thing to know and to have access to. And then over here, like right here on my screen, the overview, I'll just pop this out. They added a rotation, and I can mirror, and I can zoom in as before. The only thing I don't like is I don't have a button to click to reset this. I can right click and hit 0 and get back to my canvas, but I can't mirror this. I'm sorry, I can't reset that. And I would like to be able to reset the mirror as well. Oh man. Yeah, there. There we go. Because sometimes when you're mirroring something, oops, I'll put that there. You don't know what the original orientation was, so if I did this and I'm like, okay, I'll just keep drawing, and I'm like, oh, this isn't the right orientation, it's been mirrored. You know, I would like a reset for that too. Maybe just an overall reset. But I do like the rotation and stuff is here. It's always good to have that in multiple places. So you have it in your right click pop-up palette, for the zoom, mirror, all that fun stuff, and you also have it down here. And I will say they also made updates to the tablet response and all that fun stuff in Krita. And I did get a new Huey on tablet, and for a while it wasn't being too responsive with the pop-up palette. Like I'd right click and it wouldn't do anything right away, and it seems that this update has resolved a lot of that. That's cool too. You can resize the layer thumbnails, which I should have done in the beginning. So that's the default size, and now you can... Ooh, I don't know if you heard the thunder, but it's loud. But now you can move that up. And that's pretty much the major changes that I wanted to go over. I'll probably make some videos for the other changes, such as the new blend modes. They have a noise generator, clone brush, you can reset the origin, some changes to brush customization settings for the sharpness, flow, and opacity, and painting mask performance as well, and a few other things. I'll link the release notes in the description of the video. I highly recommend you check this out if you haven't already updated. I haven't had any issues. It has not crashed on me once since recording, and I've recorded this video twice now, so I'm really happy about that. I would say this is a pretty stable release, especially since they went through the alpha and beta phase so quickly, which worried me at first, but since I haven't had any issues, I think they obviously knew what they were doing, and they did a really good job fixing stuff. So yeah, hopefully if you like Krita, you'll give this a try, or give the new version a try, and I will see you guys in the next video.